If the situation between the Palestinians and Israelis seems hopeless, think again. The recent Gaza flotilla attack in the Mediterranean has amplified a global movement to isolate Israel through boycott, divestment, and sanctions. In short, BDS. The increase in BDS actions comes as the Obama administration remains dubious about their position on the deadly Gaza flotilla attack. And as many members of the U.S. Congress back Israel's policies unrelentlessly, we ask why the disconnect? Americans, and how exactly are Americans reacting? RT's Lauren Lister joined us now live from the newsroom. Lauren, what can you tell us about it?
Well, Jehan, some American activists who were supporters of the flotilla helped organize the flotilla, or in the case of one woman who was on the flotilla, they stormed one U.S. congressman's office today and they turned themselves in for their crimes. Sound a little odd? Well, take a look for yourself.
We are responding to his call.
Americans hand themselves over for arrest to a member of Congress.
And I'm sure that you're going to have Homeland Security there to protect him from the terrorists.
They confess, and they have a message for him.
Call him and tell him he's got 4 terrorists here and that something needs to be done.
Their crime?
To challenge a policy of Israel which is being so destructive for the people of Gaza.
That's why retired Colonel Ann Wright says she and others boarded a flotilla with humanitarian aid and headed for Gaza. Actions that Congressman Brad Sherman says the activists should be prosecuted for, alleging they were helping terrorists or were guilty of being them.
Was a crime.
Now, it's a publicity stunt here, but activists bring to light a serious issue, where in the U.S. Congress, there is a disconnect.
I think that it's clear that Congress's policies, its votes, its positions on this conflict are so out of tune with the rest of the world, and even with the American public, that it's beyond belief.
Despite the congressman's previous remarks, he wasn't here and he did not want to make a citizen's arrest. He instead issued this statement saying that Americans wanting to bring aid to Gaza should have gone through specific non-governmental organizations and that it is a crime to provide any assistance to Hamas, which the U.S. considers a terrorist organization.
Sherman's stance reflects a U.S. Congress that has continued supporting Israel's policies in the wake of the deadly flotilla raid.
The rest of the world knows exactly what America is doing, that the United States government is protecting Israel in anything that it does.
While on the streets in the U.S. and other countries, people protest. While musicians boycott Israel because of their policies, and politicians in other countries condemn them.
Israel has made a historic mistake. This mistake is not just against Turkey, but also against all 32 countries represented on the boat attacked.
Even U.S. President Barack Obama says the blockade of Gaza can't go on.
Not only is the status quo with respect to Gaza unsustainable, the status quo with respect to the Middle East is unsustainable.
Congress fires back with this statement. Mr. President, whose side are you on? You said the situation in Gaza is unsustainable. The truth is your policy toward Israel is unsustainable. And while Obama pledges $400 million in aid to the Palestinians who are suffering, Congress criticizes. Today's pledge to fund another bailout of the Palestinian leadership, a $400 million windfall, sends the message that standing in the way of peace and freedom can be quite profitable. What activists say is not paying off is the unrelenting U.S. support of Israel.
U.S. policies need to change. U.S. policies are really endangering the United States.
And according to many accounts, the Palestinians are paying too.
We all believe that the siege of Gaza must end, that the open-air prison that's caused by the Israeli policies of siege and blockade must end.
Lauren Lister, RT, Washington, D.C.
Now, your mention of the boycott there is very interesting, reminiscent of the South African boycott that took place 2 decades ago. But just to update our viewers on some things, 25 Knesset members in Israel have actually passed a law outlawing any kind of boycott, divestment, sanctions actions inside of Israel from any of their citizens. But Lauren, my question to you is, so it's not just governments you mentioned condemning Israel. You also had some performers there in the mix. Tell us a bit about these artists who are boycotting Israel.
Jehan, it's part of a growing movement of artists that are canceling their shows and pulling out of Israel because they disagree with Israeli policies. Some of these came in the wake of the deadly flotilla raid. After the raid, that's when Roger Waters recorded that song that I played a little bit of in my report that you saw, We Shall Overcome. He was inspired because of what he believed were, bad policies of Israel in dealing with that situation, with footage from The Roadmap to Apartheid, a documentary that accompanied it. We've seen the Pixies be the latest band to pull out of Israel and not hold a concert there. Elvis Costello pulled out, specifically saying that he could not come and perform in Israel because of his conscience. So you're seeing a growing list. Others include Carlos Santana, the Gorillaz, a growing list of artists that will not go perform in Israel.
It's very interesting. It seems like the boycott, divestment, sanctions thing is definitely gaining some ground. Lauren Lister in our newsroom.